We've looked at hashtag culture, the history of hashtags, instances where hashtags have leapt off the internet and into everyday life. Today, we are going to be doing an in-depth study of the best hashtags to use for social media. Hello creative people, I am Jade from Misskoko the Librarian, and on this channel I help people just like you create a rockin' online presence that brings you to the attention of all the right people. Today is the fourth video in my hashtag culture series where we look at hashtags and how you can use them to expand your reach online. Let's start with the social network where you can use the most hashtags and not be penalized for it. Instagram.
Yay!
If you're into social media marketing, you probably already know that YouTube and Instagram are blowing up as the two most popular social networks. But Instagram is the only one of those two that uses hashtags in a way we've come to expect. And just to reiterate, a hashtag is a way that everyone on the internet can organize all the content on the internet. So if we search the library marketing hashtag on Twitter, everything that would come up under that hashtag relates to library marketing in some way. But Instagram. So it is common knowledge that you can use up to 30 hashtags in every post that you put on your feed, or 10 hashtags per Instagram story. You can also use hashtags in the video description of your IGTV content. And in fact, Instagram uses those hashtags in your IGTV content to figure out if something is what you would want to see in your For You category. But the best way I have found to use hashtags on Instagram is to rotate them. And any good hashtag use starts with research. Research into the ones that are used in your industry. When it comes to researching, I would recommend finding 7 to 10 hashtags per volume. You can determine the volume of a hashtag by how many results pop up within that hashtag when you search on it. And you will want hashtags with a small, medium, and large volume. Doing so will gain you more exposure because on the smaller hashtags, your content will stay in the Explorer feed for longer. And with the larger volume hashtags, you have a chance of bringing in new followers as everyone follows the larger hashtags. So let me show you what this hashtag research looks like and then how to keep it when you are done. Here I have 4 categories I want to research hashtags for to put in my posts. By checking out Instagram and websites like besthashtags.com, I've found the following hashtags related to those categories and the volume that they have on Instagram. And from here, I can see what my small, medium, and large hashtags are as they relate to the categories that I post in. And to keep track of the hashtags I use, I put them all into a Word document, which then also makes it easier for me to rotate hashtags from each category so I'm not using the same ones in each post. One of these days, I'm actually going to make a database out of all of my hashtags instead of just having them in a Word document, but not this day. When it comes to how many hashtags to use per post, each social network is different. Do tests on Instagram with 10, 15, 20, 25 hashtags on each post to see what amount actually gets you the most engagement. For me, I found between 20 to 25 per post and 5 hashtags in my stories is the sweet spot for my industry. Moving on to Twitter, I want you to do an advanced search on the hashtags you researched for Instagram and narrow your search to the last year. This will give you a sense of the hashtag's use and therefore relevancy on Twitter. You may find that you have less hashtags to use on Twitter than you did on Instagram But that's okay, because there is a very simple formula you can use for Twitter hashtags. Where people use hashtags on Instagram to mostly gain exposure for their content, on Twitter, people are looking for conversations to join on topics that they enjoy. So on Twitter, if you add the hashtag rise and grind on most of your content, then you will become a known voice within that conversation, and perhaps even be able to influence the flow of conversation on Twitter under that hashtag as well. So what I'm saying is you can use your hashtag research from Instagram on Twitter, but then you need to do a little extra. Branch out and find social media campaigns or social events relevant to your industry and then join those conversations. For example, using the same categories as before, on Twitter, Library Shelfie Day is huge, as is NSS and the Year, which stands for National Simultaneous Storytime. Museum Week has a bigger volume on Twitter than it does on Instagram, and Museum Shelfie Day is huge as well. For social media, Solo Biz Chat is an active source of information, and of course for video marketing, Content Creator is a popular hashtag. If you haven't already figured out what the formula is for Twitter hashtags, it's this. Find social media campaigns and events that are big for your industry, and then join the Twitter conversations, interact with the conversations, hell, even start some conversations yourself.
Yay!
Content may be king, but quality is queen. And when you organically join conversations and be social online, that is bringing value, and that is quality. The amount of hashtags you can use per post on Twitter and Facebook is very similar. No more than 4 hashtags per post and 2 mentions. A mention being when you tag a specific brand or person in your post. On Instagram, you can follow a hashtag to be notified of any new content that is added to that hashtag. You can also do the same on Twitter using TweetDeck, but there is no similar function for Facebook. So hashtags on Facebook become like a in-crowd. So if a person knows about your branded hashtag and likes the content that they see, then they are more likely to use your hashtag themselves and pass on your content to their social circles, meaning that the audience or in-crowd for your branded content grows organically through word of mouth. People use Facebook to find out the latest gossip. They want to know what the news is for their local area, find out what so-and-so did on the weekend, or chat with their family and friends. Making the best hashtags to use on Facebook branded, sensationalized, or entertaining. So be creative when it comes to the hashtags that you use on Facebook. Integrate your content into some entertaining hashtags. Some of my personal faves are hashtag reasons my son is crying, hashtag worst gifts ever, and hashtag me IRL.
Aww.
What do we have left? Oh yes, LinkedIn and YouTube. Let's start with LinkedIn first. A very common best practice that I see people use on LinkedIn is to capitalize the first letter of each word in the hashtag. This just makes it a tiny bit easier to read. But generally, hashtags are used the same way on LinkedIn as they are on Twitter and Instagram, to group like information together or to get your content noticed. Which means that all the hashtag research you did for the other social networks will come in very handy for LinkedIn as well. There is definite research that supports the theory that hashtags on LinkedIn or using hashtags on LinkedIn will expand your reach. So I would suggest adding up to 3 hashtags in your posts if you want a larger audience to see your content. And if you are going to events or a conference or something like that, make sure to use the event hashtag in your posts. As you can imagine, professional development content and hashtags are a big hit with users of LinkedIn. And last in line, we have YouTube. I left YouTube for last because of all the social networks, it's the one that doesn't quite get hashtags. When you search a hashtag on YouTube, your results are a bit hit and miss. You only get results of people who have included that hashtag in their video description, but the site completely ignores hashtags used anywhere else, which makes it a bit difficult to figure out what the best hashtags to use would be to expand your reach on YouTube. In saying that, this is the advice I can give you. It's the first 3 hashtags in your video description that show up underneath your video. So you really want to think about those first 3. If you have a branded hashtag, that should always be the first hashtag you use. Your second hashtag should be a description of your video content. So if you just published a video on hashtag culture, then hashtag culture should be your second hashtag. And your third hashtag should be a broader version of your video content. So we're doing a hashtag culture video now. Your third hashtag could be something like social media or social media tips. Specific to you, specific to your video, and then broad. As I mentioned at the beginning of this video, this is video 4 in a series on hashtag culture, where we look at hashtags and how we can use them to expand our reach online. But speaking of social media, I have a couple of gifts for you. In the video description, you can find a couple of links. One is to a personal branding workshop where you can work with me to help develop your story and gain clarity for the type of content that you post online. I also have a cheat sheet that will walk you through all my secrets for getting my social media done in 17 minutes every day. And the link for that is in the doobly-doo. You've been entertained and educated. I've been Jade from Misskoko the Librarian. Remember to always be curious, and I shall see you same time next week. So what I'm saying is you can use your hashtag and in fact Instagram uses those